Good morning, Philippines. Welcome to your program, Your Agenda on Cignal TV, One News, and thank you for watching us via channels 8 and 250. Maraming salamat po to all of you Cignal TV subscribers and of course to PLDT for their home fiber optic internet. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us today, and we will be discussing an idea, or well, not an idea, a reality that I'm sure has occurred to many Filipinos now with the extremely high prices of fuel. Today, there will be an increase in gasoline by as much as I think 1 peso 10 centavos, and for diesel it will be 20 centavos. And some of you might say, okay lang, di naman ako gumagamit ng gasolina. Many or most, if not all, tricycles in the Philippines use gasoline. So that will surely impact people on the ground, ordinary Filipinos who use the tricycle to commute every day. So ang marami or a lot of Filipinos are now wondering, is it time to ride a bicycle? Should we now bring out our old bicycles, our unused bicycles, and does it make sense? We will tackle that, and we will also discuss government programs, budgets, etc., with two guests on the program. But first, let's go to our daily starter, and it is from Mr. Ray Bradbury, and it goes, sometimes you've got to jump off the cliffs and grow wings on the way down. Okay. Sometimes you've got to jump off the cliffs and grow wings on the way down. This particular daily starter is for those of you who still have second thoughts, who are still deliberating, wondering, looking for an exit plan, looking for a parachute before you do something or engage in a project or make a decision. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, you simply have to jump with both feet in and then try to land as good as you can, because if you spend too much time looking for safety nets, looking for bailout parachutes or backup plans, nothing will ever be accomplished. When you don't start, you don't get anywhere. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star, Tuesday, August 22, 2023, and the headline, photos, etc. are mostly about the commemoration celebration of the death of Ninoy Aquino yesterday. The headline from BBM, Bongbong Marcos, President, let's transcend political barriers. Ninoy fought battles he deemed right. President Marcos joined Filipinos in commemorating the 40th death anniversary of former Senator Benigno Aquino Jr. yesterday, asking them to tear down political barriers that have rent the country for decades. In a statement, the president said, I stand united with all Filipinos worldwide in commemorating the Ninoy Aquino Day by standing for his beliefs and fighting for battles he deemed right. He became an example of relentlessness and resolve for many Filipinos. Meanwhile, there's a huge photo in the center of the Philippine Star showing the tomb of Benigno Aquino Jr. and the crowd that attended the Mass yesterday at the Santo Domingo Church, where the Aquinos said, thank you for being one with us. The late Senator Benigno Aquino Jr.'s eldest child is thankful to Filipinos who joined in remembering her father. Okay, so that's from yesterday's event. Photos there of people who attended the mass, mostly wearing yellow. At the top of the front page, Armed Forces of the Philippines not informed of U.S., Japan, Australia, South China Seas drills. Okay. The Armed Forces of the Philippines issued a statement that they were not informed, much less invited to the planned U.S., Japan, Australia military drills in the South China Seas, because apparently some people had the impression that the AFP declined to participate. Not true. The AFP simply were not invited for whatever reason. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, another price hike today on fuel, gasoline by 110, diesel by 0.20 centavos or 20 centavos. The cost of petroleum products continues to go up, with oil firms implementing another round of pump price increases today. Okay, in separate advisories, oil companies said prices would rise by 110 per liter for gasoline, 20 centavos per liter for diesel, and 70 centavos per liter for kerosene. Ayan po, ang tatamaan yung mga maliliit na tao or ordinary citizens who rely on the tricycle and who use kerosene for their homes in the provinces. Meanwhile, the Alliance of Concerned Teachers representatives in Congress are asking, did Duterte, referring to President Rodrigo Duterte, promise to remove ship from the Ayungin Shoal? With two past presidents having already issued categorical denials, former President Rodrigo Duterte is the only one left that may have made the promise to China to remove the BRP Sierra Madre from Ayungin Shoal. House Deputy Minority Leader Franz Castro said yesterday. Okay, kasi nag-deny na po si PGMA, nag-deny na ang mga Estrada, wala na si Noynoy Aquino, besides which it was President Noynoy Aquino who won the arbitral ruling regarding the South China Sea issue with China. And so the ball is now in the court of former President Rodrigo Duterte, whether or not he will Overseas Workers Welfare Administration for on free flights for OFW. Okay, if you would, Gab, kindly change the headline. Anyway, according to COA, and this is very disturbing information, ladies and gentlemen, the Commission on Audit has called out the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, for allowing 3,707 overseas Filipino workers to avail themselves of free flights under the COVID-19 emergency repatriation program more than once, indicating that the OFW used the program for other purposes. Madaling salita, to make it quick and short, 3,000, okay? 3,707 OFWs made repeated flights abroad or back to the Philippines using that program, which is only meant to repatriate distressed Filipino workers. Ginawang pre-ticket. And according to the report, it is OWA Region 10 that is being eyed, but OWA Region 10 said, we cannot do anything unless it is the central office ordering us to do it. Okay. Meanwhile, taxis appeal for 60 peso flag down rate. Okay. And a taxi operators group has reiterated its call for the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board to act on its motion seeking a 60 peso flag down rate on taxi fares. What that will amount to, we don't know, because most people are now simply using Grab. Anyway, we have last two items on the front page. We have a photo of Singaporean Ambassador Constance C., Enterprise Singapore's Assistant CEO Jeannie Lim, and SM Supermall's SVP for Marketing Joaquin San Agustin leading the ribbon-cutting ceremony of Singaporium, a pop-up that features 8 well-loved brands from Singapore at the SM Aura. Okay. Last but not the least, we have a photo of a huge basketball at the where is this again? Okay, at the Sofitel Philippine Plaza, Manila, before the start of the games of the FIBA Basketball World Cup 23. So ayan po, lahat nakafocus on the FIBA World Cup 2023. So many players, so many teams, so many delegates are now in town. Let's try to show them the best and offer them the best that the Philippines can provide. In the meantime, we go for a quick break and we will go to our main topic. Sa ikauunlad ng bansa, ng bayan, bisikleta ang kailangan. We'll be right back.
Last week, the local government of San Juan decided to remove the bollards along the bike lanes in some parts of Ortigas Avenue. Mayor Francis Zamora said that as the city returns to a post-pandemic normalcy, they have found that the bollards have been contributing to congestion and a reduction in road capacity. These bollards were installed to protect bikers during the height of the pandemic when public transportation options were limited. Active transport advocates expressed disappointment over this decision. Former Pasig City Transport Head Robert Anthony C. contended that upon comparing 2019 and 2022 data, the congestion with bike bollards installed is insignificant. Transport advocacy group AltMobility PH said this move compromises the safety of bikers' welfare. Its director Ira Cruz also pointed out how Zamora's decision is a sharp contrast to the directions of the DOTr and the campaign promise of President Marcos Jr.
Ira Cruz is director of AltMobility PH, a group of transport professionals and volunteers advocating for sustainable and inclusive mobility in the country. Cruz finished the fellowship in innovation through design thinking at the Asian Institute of Management. He also obtained his master's degree in city and urban, community, and regional planning from University of the Philippines, Diliman.
Good morning, Ira. Welcome back. Welcome to the program agenda.
Hi, Cito. How are you?
Here, I am wondering if I should spend the rest of the day washing all of my old bicycles because, well, seriously, when I started the program, I pointed out that many Filipinos will ignore or dismiss the increase in gasoline prices because they say, naka-diesel naman ako eh. Lahat ng sasakyan diesel. But they forget that all tricycles operate with gasoline. And bangkas, mostly the small bangkas, are operated by small gasoline engines. So this is going to hit home and hit hard. Now, the reason I asked the team to invite you is to get an assessment. What is your reading of the national government, local government, the MMDA, and the public in general on how they are responding to this impending impact on their pockets?
Well, first of all, with or without, or even if the price increase is just limited to gas prices, we've already been hearing that several transport groups have been asking for fare increases. No, included in that are the rail services, LRT, MRT, have been asking for that, and we all know that that later on that would also have an impact on the prices of food and other commodities. So this is really something that the government should look into in terms of how to find ways to insulate, or at least try to insulate, ordinary Filipinos from.
Insulate ordinary Filipinos. Now, I was just thinking, that's why we got you, is, your organization promotes bike riding. And regarding our intro video, what can ordinary Filipinos do for themselves? Because, sorry, I gave up on, on policymakers. I gave up on politicians a long time ago. They will never do anything for bicycles because they don't know how to ride bicycles.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of ignoring them because we do have to work with them in terms of trying to introduce policies and programs that would improve the lives of many Filipinos. But if you may see it on, I'd want to step back for our viewers and maybe try to explain first why it's even important for us to consider not just biking, but other forms of mass public transportation like jeepneys or MRT. And that's because at the end of the day, we all want inclusive cities. Regardless of your choice of mode of transportation, you want to live in a city that's livable, inclusive, and we want to be able to provide affordable, efficient forms of transportation to everybody living in the cities. Unfortunately, our car dependence and car centricity of our policies have been getting in the way of that for several years now. We have very expensive forms of transportation, inefficient, we can't rely on them. which pushes a lot of people to take cars. No? And it has to be noted that the government has only taken, I don't know, serious, you know, consideration for introducing active transportation in the last 3 years, and even then, it's not even consistent. Whatever infrastructure they've built, it's already either been removed, faulty, defective, and has fragmented policies. And so we can't. So when you go back to the statement of Mayor Zamora, and he's saying that there aren't that many bikers anyway. What they're precisely expecting is for their faulty and fragmented policies in the last 3 years to have made such a lasting experience. What we need to do in order to have better cities is to be able to promote multiple modes of transportation. People should have a choice in terms of how they want to get around cities. And the way that they're doing it, fragmented policies, inconsistent, you know, ever changing, does not help in terms of promoting and introducing additional modes of transportation to Filipinos. And which brings us to where we are today, where gas prices affecting the price of commodities, affecting the price of fares, leaves very little choice for Filipinos to get on how to get around. So there goes biking, right? Now, how do we now present biking as an additional mode of transportation if the scenario is the way it is? Mayor Zamora removing protection in bike lanes, saying that this metric is that there hasn't been any major accidents anyway. Of course, I'd like to know that perhaps there hasn't been any major accidents because the bollards that he removed has been doing its job precisely. Because following this removal of the bike lanes, there actually have been at least two reported accidents on Ortigas Avenue that involved bikers and other motorized vehicles. And so here we are. No? I mean, and when I talked about insulating the public from the effects of increased fuel prices, I'm not just talking about promoting biking as an additional form of transportation, but also revisiting programs like service contracting and the public utility vehicle modernization program, so that aside from biking, people would have the option to take public transportation as a way for them to get from their homes to their places of work in an efficient and affordable manner.
Well, Ira, the reason I picked up on this thing is because last week or early this week, a news item came out that the MMDA announced that they would arrest motorcycle riders who drive on the bicycle lanes. So there is intent to implement the rules, the policy, and then you have a mayor saying, "Oh, we're taking out the bollards," which is intended for rider safety. And so you have two different authorities contradicting the philosophy of safety for bike riders. Now, what is the situation regarding? Okay, let's start with bicycles. If people were to ask you, is it safe to let my kids go to school on bikes, or is it all right for us to invest on bicycles for our employees so they can save all the money they're spending on gasoline or on bus fare?
Right. Okay. So on the first question, is it safe? Absolutely not. And whose fault is that? That's the government's fault. It remains to be the responsibility of government to make sure that everybody is safe. And then unfortunately, they resort to victim blaming, but it doesn't remove the fact that it remains to be government's responsibility to make sure that it is safe for everybody.
Mhm.
In terms of businesses, yes, we've spoken with some businessmen and with some businessmen and business owners, sorry, and they do confirm that their support for employees or their promotion of biking for employees have actually been very good for their business. Aside from reliability of their workers coming on time to even to company satisfaction. Now, to go back to your initial statement, unfortunately, you know, how you describe Mayor Zamora's policy and that of MMDA seems to have it's really characterizing how our local government, national government has been behaving the past several decades, that they have uncoordinated, inconsistent policies. You know, first of all, we also need to remember that as Mayor Zamora is implementing this in San Juan, he also is the president of the Metro Manila Council, which is the policy-making body of the MMDA. So there in
Okay.
itself, right there, you can already see that there's there's a lot of coordination issues between the two.
So
But at the
this
same
is not just, well, I mean, sorry to cut in, but if Mayor Zamora has made that announcement, we're removing the bollards, we're going to put in cat eyes, which are not cheap, by the way, and also requires a lot of labor. Then what are the chances that the other mayors will follow suit, and that it may lead to the minimalization or removing the priority and safety for bike riders?
Well, first of all, that's going to be a very huge mistake, and that's such a huge statement in terms of putting value, or it speaks a lot in terms of how government will value the lives of ordinary Filipinos. And mind you, not only are cat's eye expensive, they're also very inefficient and ineffective in terms of providing the safety that Mayor Zamora is promising. But you see, Chito, in the last several decades, we've also seen that MMDA hasn't really been functioning as a regional body anyway, right? There's been a lot of policies of MMDA that are not necessarily adopted by cities, and I guess in this case that's a good thing, because if we turn to the local government of Quezon City, we can see that they are in fact instead intensifying their protection for their bike lanes. Just recently, the Quezon City government or Mayor Belmonte added additional protection for bike lanes along Commonwealth Avenue. Aside from the bollards, we now see concrete planter boxes to make sure that the safety of bikers is not compromised. So these are a tale of two cities, no? And again, if you add another city, Ortigas Avenue, where Mayor Zamora removed the bollards, you can also see that a few hundred meters after that, Mandaluyong has just finished installing protected bollards on their side of Ortigas Avenue. And if you go to Pioneer Center, not very far from where TV5 is, Mandaluyong has also introduced bidirectional bike lanes along Pioneer. So you can see that there's a sharp contrast, not just in terms of the policies of DOTr, not just in terms of the campaign promise of the president, but also in terms of the direction that's being taken by other local government units.
And let's not lose sight of the fact that it took a lot of work, took a lot of lobbying, and took a lot of money to put up those things like the bollards. They're not cheap either. And if you have kilometers of them and you're just going to remove them and throw them in a bodega, what's the whole point?
That's right. And again, I have to go back to the last 3 years. And it was only at the beginning of the pandemic that the government has actually taken this a little bit more seriously. But even then, the progress has not been consistent. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. If we go back to the bike lanes that have been set up by DOTr along EDSA, we can already see that not only are the pavements defective, some of the bike lanes have been removed, and then again the fragmented policies. So if you want to talk, I mean, you also mentioned earlier about the apprehension of MMDA on motorcycles that are obstructing the bike lanes and EDSA. I think that's a step in the right direction. But I have to add 2 things. Number 1, it should not be limited to EDSA. Number 2, it should not be limited to motorcycles, because sometimes you can see that motorcycles are actually just coming in and out of bike lanes. So the enforcement of this should also be for motorized vehicles that actually stay longer on bike lanes and completely obstruct this. And number 3, we also have to address the needs of motorcycle riders. That there also needs to be infrastructure for them.
Well, I've grown old through the years, lobbying for a dedicated lane for motorcycle riders because they have it in Europe, they have it in Taiwan, they have it in so many countries, and here we're not even experimenting. We are just following the whim of politicians and local officials. Anyway, but are you hopeful that the president will somehow take a stand on this matter? Because that's what it takes. It takes the president of the country to make that policy decision. Are you hopeful, or is this going to be, or what about the DOTr? Because from what I heard in the past, certain DOTr officials were not friendly with motorcycles. And what about now?
Well, okay. I guess we can go back to the campaign promise of President Marcos and heard something that we can hold them. Withhold. This is something we can hold them to. Of course, we're very sad. On the other hand, we're very sad that the president did not even mention active transportation or public transportation for that matter in the State of the Nation address. But we do rely on the fact that active transportation is part of the Philippine Development Plan, which is the basis of the Department of Budget and Management in terms of allocating resources for these projects. So now we're turning to Congress to ask them to make sure that as it's been included in the Philippine Development Plan, that they would allocate sufficient resources for it. But regardless of the result, here we are. We're going to continue pushing for what's important for our cities, not just for bikers, but for all motorists. Because as I keep on saying, there's been a study by Waze that says that cities that are best for biking are also the cities that are best for driving. And so what we're really just working towards is building more livable cities and cities where we can all be able to go wherever we need to go, regardless of our choice of mode of transportation.
What has been, what have you observed regarding motorists or presence of vehicles on the road? Because in the past, I always say, pag tumaas ang krudo at gasolina, kumukonte ang sasakyan sa EDSA. But I don't know, have they gone, are there fewer vehicles now on the road, or are people just biting the bullet and getting on with their lives?
Well, if you look at the report of automotive companies, they've reported increase in sales. And I think MMDA's own numbers also show that there are more motorists on the streets. And I think this is such a reflection of the type of environment that our government has created, very car dependent, very car centric, and that puts people in a position where they don't have or they're not presented with alternative modes of transportation. And that's why our roads are all congested because we're increasing dependence on vehicles. But in a survey conducted by a P2P provider, they've seen that that because of the availability of point-to-point buses in their areas, there have been people that have decided to leave their cars in their houses and opt for public transportation. So that's the dream. We need to be able to get additional modes of transportation, not just biking, but public transportation to a certain level, that people will be able to decide for themselves and say, you know what, I don't need to bring my car today because I can rely on public transportation.
Yeah, how do we go about that, Ira? Because I think it's also culture. You know, when I took a bus from Isabela to Manila, people thought I was crazy. When we took the boat Starlight Ferry to Boracay from Batangas to Caticlan, people were like, "Huh? Why would you even do that? That's not, they just reacted differently." And I'm kind of like, what's happened to people, you know?
Yep, and I feel the same way. Whenever people find out that I bike everywhere I go, I have to explain to them why in the world I do it, right? But that's not the business of government. The business of government, and it's clearly stated in their mandate, is that they're supposed to provide all modes of transportation to people. And that's all they need to worry about. That they need to make sure that whenever we look at streets, we can say this is a complete street. In the sense that there's space for pedestrian sidewalks, there's bike lanes, there's space for motorcycles, there's space for private vehicles, and there's space for mass public transportation like buses and jeepneys. But also looking at the way that we allocate space, and that we should be allocating space for the 96% of Filipinos that do not own
Okay.
private vehicles.
Okay, let's go for a quick break. And when we return, we'll be joined by one of my good friends and one of a guy who has dedicated several years standing on EDSA, trying to clear EDSA, trying to clear streets so that we can have space for everyone, and none other than our friend Colonel Edison Bong Nebrija. We'll be right back after this break.
As Congress begins its deliberations on the 2024 budget, Transport Advocacy Group Move as One Coalition couldn't help but lament the proposed budget for the Transportation Department. In the 2024 National Expenditure Program, the DOTr and its attached agencies proposed a 214.3 billion pesos. This is more than double versus last year's budget of 106 billion pesos. However, the coalition pointed out that the budgets for active transport and PUV modernization were slashed. They noted that for 2024, only active transport will have a share of the department's budget at 1.2%. The rest, or 98.8%, will go to other DOTr programs to support the Build Better More initiative. The coalition has since urged the government to give pedestrians and cyclists the highest priority through a budget that will fulfill the needs of over 90% of Filipinos who do not own vehicles. Let's delve deeper into this issue on today's agenda.
Edison Bong Nebrija is the head of the MMDA's Task Force Special Operations. Nebrija previously held the role of upholding traffic management in the busy thoroughfare of EDSA. Prior to his role in the agency, Nebrija was a captain in the Philippine Navy and a graduate of the Philippine Military Academy class of 1991.
Okay, good morning. Welcome back to the program, and welcome to my dear friend Colonel Edison Bong Nebrija. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Cito, and good morning to all your televiewers.
Okay, Ira Cruz is with us, and we've been talking about can we rely or bring out our bicycles on EDSA? Because actually what got my attention was an announcement by the MMDA that the agency will start arresting motorcycle riders who are using the bicycle lanes to operate. And then, of course, the news that San Juan mayor and apparently Metro Manila mayor said I think na may mental block ako, pare, is going to remove the bollards on the San Juan area. And then I read also that the bus operators are calling for the end to the bus carousel operation dahil nalulugi daw sila. What are your thoughts on all of this, Colonel?
Sir, in the first place, bike lanes, the government have spent so much for the bike lanes. And that is also promoting the active transportation. And I think Ira is one of the advocates for this. And I think this is good alternative for motorized transportation, giving the vulnerable road users in Metro Manila a secured, at least a secured path for them to commute using their bicycles. And it is sad that it is being abused by some motorcycle riders that they think that these bicycle lanes can be shared with them. We cannot share motorized with non-motorized. That is too dangerous, Cito. And ever since we've been telling them that at least on the part of MMDA, we've been advocating for a protected bike lane before. We were saying that it should be together at grade with the pedestrian walkway, but we do not have the budget for that. And we agreed with this upgrade on the road as long as there will be bollards and barriers to protect our bikers. But still, it's being abused. There are portions that the motorcycles can get in. And with that, just one or two will initiate this passing through the bike lanes, then everybody will follow suit. It's hard to enforce this in the first place because once they see enforcers, they will just one by one they will just get out, and when they see no enforcers anymore, they will just go back. I think there will be like what the chairman has said. We will be starting today, starting yesterday, that we will be enforcing this relentlessly. And I think that's the real key to all this enforcement, that we will be consistent, not only for the first week, not only on the second week, but it will be continuously done by the traffic enforcement on the ground.
What happens? Do you expect some friction between Mayor Francis Zamora and the MMDA? Because Francis Zamora, according to Ira, heads the Metro Manila Mayor's Council, and MMDA is often under the authority of the council.
Well, Cito, the policy statement of the chairman is on EDSA, so it doesn't cover the inner roads of San Juan. And I really do not know anything on the pronouncement of San Juan Mayor Francis Zamora, if it will be in conflict with the pronouncement of the chairman. We work as one, Cito, and I think there will be no conflict whatsoever in this one.
Okay. What about the call of bus operators to remove the carousel, etc., because they are not earning money? I can see you smile, and you should have seen my reaction when I read that. It's like, puntay mo nga dito yan.
Well, Cito, again, this is the closest that we've got to solving the traffic in EDSA. Actually, we are more than the volume right now of vehicles is more than the pre-pandemic that we had, right? We're averaging, I think, 430,000 vehicles on EDSA right now. But still, our travel time is faster than before because we have segregated the buses. Remember, Cito, before the bus rationalization routes have been implemented, there are 91 routes in Metro Manila. 61 of these 91 routes passes through EDSA. And that accounts to 4,000 to 5,000 buses in a day on EDSA. You can just imagine. And of course, factoring in the discipline of these drivers, it's really chaotic on EDSA during those times. But now, we only have 550 buses the most. And they are segregated by barriers in the busway. And I think the commute hours of the commuters using the buses from Nomento to Ross Boulevard has been cut down into half. 3 hours before, now they're only averaging 1.5 to 1 hour 45 minutes. And I think we have served the busway, and the bus carousel has served well the commuters who uses the buses for their daily commute.
What about the suggestion of Ira? Well, Ira, you say it. You were talking about expanding the choice, the what's available in terms of mobility. So, what areas do you believe that the MMDA or Colonel Bong or we in media can push for that are doable?
Right. I think that applies more to more streets, though, not just EDSA. Being able to implement or being able to create inclusive streets, not just on EDSA, but on all major thoroughfares, no, including Ortigas Avenue, for instance, C5, et cetera. No? And we're really happy that Colonel Nebrija is on our side, not just defending the need for bike lanes, but also the need to retain the EDSA busway. The problem here is it's the problem, or where they're coming from, where they're not being paid. It's not a problem of the creation of the EDSA busway. That's a problem of a budgetary issue that the government needs to focus on, and that means really funding initiatives like the PUVMP or the service contracting, so that it will be as profitable for the operators as it is as beneficial to ordinary Filipino commuters.
Okay, now, Colonel, what about the potholes, the repairs, etc.? Kasi I know you love to go off-roading, you love to go camping. I have a system of knowing where I am in the Philippines. If the ride is great, I'm on Star, Slex, or NLEX. If it starts getting rough, I'm on EDSA. Sabi nga nila, level 2 off-roading daw yung EDSA. Ano na ang nangyayari sa atin regarding this? Because people have said that there needs to be more or better cooperation regarding road repairs.
That's right, Cito. We've been trying to coordinate with DPWH. Actually, if you remember, August 4 to August 5, we let them repair the roads, even on daytime, even if it caused traffic, because it's hard for them to just concentrate on weekends and do the repairs and do the reblocking on weekends, and then it's a time that it will rain and they cannot do anything and it will be delayed again. So that's why we have given them 5 days to do all the repairs, especially that we're hosting the FIBA World Cup starting 25 August. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted them to push through with the repairs even on daytime. I know the challenges of DPWH in coming up with the schedule for the repair on EDSA, because we cannot sacrifice also the commute hours of our kababayans going to work, because it will really delay them. So that's why we're trying to limit it on weekends. But the public needs to understand that it is not just 1 day or 1 week that we could repair the whole of EDSA. Actually, Cito, the road reblocking schedule of DPWH extends for more than a year, if you can see their timelines on how to repair it. But sometimes delays cause it because of the rain, because of other contingencies like the repair of the flyover. It's an emergency repair and it will delay the road reblocking. So there are so many challenges that DPWH faces in repairing EDSA, and I hope the public will understand, especially now that you cannot predict the weather anymore. They will do patching in the morning because it's hot, and then suddenly in the afternoon it will rain hard, and it will just be a waste because of all the asphalt that they will overlay there, and it will just be washed away in the afternoon.
You're talking about preparing our roads for FIBA this weekend. That people might not notice too much of a hassle there. I think everything is well organized. But what about the return to school?
That's another thing. We have so many things on our plate right now, Cito. And actually, if you're monitoring my Facebook, is last week we have already starting monitoring critical areas like Ortigas, like ADB Avenue, like Madison Street, all in one, and Mandaluyong and Pasig. Because these are the critical areas that we see that causes or spills over to EDSA. the problem in the traffic management in these schools will spill over to EDSA and will affect other commuters who will just go to work. And so that's why MMDA through our chairman, MMDA chairman Don Artes has already given us the marching order to monitor and to man and make sure the traffic management plans in these areas will be implemented as planned.
Yeah, but are those schools being required to share the cost? Because I find it ironic that they are the traffic generator. And Ira, you can come in at any time. You can join the conversation here. I mean, these are the traffic generator, but it is the MMDA and the local governments that are supplying the traffic management solutions.
Well, I think this is, the way that Colonel Nebrija has been has been describing it. On one side, he's worrying about the DPWH construction. On the other hand, he's worrying about the FIBA World Cup, and then now he's worrying about the opening of classes. And it really goes to show that our cities really aren't prepared for any activity, and that's the sad thing, because the reason why you build cities is to be able to bring things like this. And that really puts MMDA in a very, very important position at this point. Because what is happening clearly is in these areas is that there are no alternative modes of transportation. While I'm a biker myself, I'm not just about to put my kid on a bike to go to school. And it needs to get to a point where parents would be able to, people would be comfortable to do that. And that's where an MMDA should come in. It needs to be a whole of government approach, like as the president would always say, MMDA coordinating with the 17 local government units, sana leading already in terms of like, how do we develop Metro Manila, coordinating with DPWH, coordinating with DOTr. So it really puts MMDA in a very good position. And I must say, very honestly, that we're pleasantly surprised at the turn of events that MMDA has been taking this position recently, and we hope that it continues. And Colonel, we're here to always help you. You know it. We're here to help you whenever you guys are in need, and we want to be able to help you continue this narrative, because I really feel that where you guys are going with implementing the bike lane rules, defending it, so it's really a step in the right direction.
Yeah, but is the MMDA fighting a losing battle? Because before the pandemic, someone, I won't tell you the international organization, but they were also in urban planning. They told me, Cito, get out of Metro Manila. It's a dying city, and investments in Metro Manila are a losing proposition. It's so congested. The systems are so archaic that at the end of the day, everything will be patchwork, but you're not going to solve the problem unless you get everything out of Metro Manila. For instance, the schools, the hospitals, etc., the traffic generating institutions like government should go digital or get out of Metro Manila. What do you have to say about that, gentlemen?
What did you think?
I think, Tito,
go ahead,
yeah,
sir.
go ahead, Ira.
No, go ahead, sir.
Well, actually, I think that's one step into that direction, that we need to digitize, and we need to consider online transactions. MMDA is going towards that direction, and likewise, other schools are also adopting that. And I heard in one of our meetings last Friday with I think Xavier School, if I'm not mistaken, that they have they have started doing online classes on Fridays, because they think that Friday is a very critical day for them, considering traffic and all that. And I think if we can do some scheduling like that, and in other schools that are traffic generators, I think we're moving in the right direction. And yes, ito in government also, there's so many transactions by our kababayans, and going digital and going online is really the key to minimize traffic. And that's what we're trying to do. Even payments of traffic violations, we want the people to do it online. Even with the single ticketing system that we have right now, the gadgets itself is capable of taking your payment immediately after issuing you a ticket. I think
Wow.
if we could improve on that, then we're moving ahead towards that direction.
What about the thing that I've always been campaigning on, Colonel Bong, which was, the nighttime economy, nighttime deliveries, because the delivery, we put the truck ban to reduce the volume of large vehicles on the road. What these businesses did was they bought smaller vans, more vans. We put coding, people bought more cars, etc. What about the nighttime economy where deliveries can be done only at night after 10?
Sir, we're still doing that. Actually, we've been talking to malls and groceries to do their deliveries at nighttime. And we still have the light truck ban implemented in Metro Manila, so that you're right, to reduce the volume on EDSA, because when they came up with this beat the system technique of getting smaller trucks to make their deliveries, it added up to the volume in Metro Manila likewise. So that's why we came up with this light truck ban policy to also, to segregate them during rush hours. And then that's what we're doing. We're asking the groceries, the malls to make their deliveries at nighttime.
Okay,
Sito,
well,
I want to go back to what you've mentioned about the night economy. And that's very true. In fact, in other countries, they even have positions called night mayors that really look into developing the evening economy. And it's not just about deliveries. We can see that a lot of our contact centers operate in the evening. We have a lot of restaurants that are open 24 hours. So it's not just about the movement of goods, but also that there is an economy. There is a lot of opportunities to develop during the evening, which is why part of the request is also for public transit to be available 24/7, so that you can develop and harness the power or the economic opportunities during the evening. Because as you mentioned kanina, cities, you're being advised that Metro Manila's dying. Parang that's kind of hard to take in, because congestion isn't really the problem. In fact, the mere fact that there is congestion means that there are a lot of people in the cities, and that's where opportunities are from. That's what cities are made of. Kung walang tao sa city, walang city. And so we really need to be able to rethink the way that we develop our cities. Not just in terms of how do we manage congestion, how do we retrofit our cities, how do we redesign, ano ba yung tamang zoning. We should be more open to mixed type of zonings and developing things like night economies to
Okay.
spread out opportunities throughout the day.
Well, I love the idea that Bong Nebrija shared regarding Xavier's strategy of doing online classes for Fridays. Maybe companies can do that also. Schools can do that, where you select the light loads, the non-essential in-person subjects or businesses, and do it all online so that people can have 3-day weekends or whatever. But anyway, gentlemen, we've run out of time. That's the idea here, just to bring these beautiful ideas, these solutions to the attention of those who are watching, policymakers, and hopefully move forward. And congratulations to both of you for the work you've done, because each of you have contributed vastly in alternative solutions. Okay, Ira and Bong, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you,
Thank you
Cito.
very much.
Okay, that's a wrap for today. Let's now go to our closing blessing for the week. And here we go. It comes from, it comes from Johnson Oatman. When upon life's billows you are tempest tossed, when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings. Name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord hath done. And that's a good thing to remember when things go rough, when you're not sure. Just remember, God has always been there for you, and you have always survived, and you have always managed to cross the bridge. I do hope you have a great week. God bless all of you. Please remember to include us in your prayer, the team agenda, and please keep it here on One News.